as it's going to be. I apologize already, and I apologized before that I didn't bring the pages. I'm just like completely off. I ran out with this, and I was like, hey, in the middle, like when I came into Yerushalayim, I was like, 1 second, did I bring anything else? Oh, I didn't. And I started off, I said, I didn't bring the pages for the next chapter, because we might get there. And I was like, 1 second, I didn't even bring the pages for this chapter. Bezrat Hashem. You'll have to trust me, okay? This is what the Malbim says. Beseder. So, if we remember, this chapter is the second chapter, according to the Malbim, that deals with the great prophecy, and we focus much more on Beit HaMikdash in Perek Gimel. Perek Gimel, he spoke about Beit HaMikdash as being the way that we can both experience Hashem on the highest level and stay within our bodily awareness. Okay, that as opposed to the first chapter, which talked about a disconnect. Now we're talking about a connect. Okay, so this chapter is a continuation of Perek Dalet, is a continuation of that understanding that we can be both retaining our faculties and connected to Hashem. So let's just take a look here at the chapter according to the Malbim. Let's say that. So the motion, as we started saying last time, if we remember the end of last time, I think we got to like the first 2-3 psukim. We talked about the neck. If I remember, that's how we ended last Nachon. We talked about where he talks. He's talking about the beauty of the beloved. He is, in this case, Hashem, right? Talking about the beauty of the beloved, and it was in pasuk Daled, Kimigdal David Savarech Banui Letalpiot. And that's where we stopped. And we talked about how the neck has one element, and I'll add another element today. So the first thing we talked about is that we talked about how it is the shift between the mind and the heart. Okay? And in the spiritual world, it has to do with contemplation, which is done in the mind, where you can reach, I guess, the highest elevations of man. But in a way, and we're going to see as he moves on, there is a what would I call it? I would call it like not a distance, but a coldness, an aloofness that has when it's only your mind, and your mind can experience amazing things. But there is another part of our avodat Hashem that entails the heart, that entails the emotion, and that in the prophetic experience itself is also an important part. Okay, so here the Malbim suddenly sort of emphasized. He didn't emphasize it, or at least he didn't. I didn't present it well. But in the first chapters, at least the way he sees it, the prophetic experience is one of the mind only, in a sense, and it's a wonderful, wondrous experience Hashem in the thing. But the burning emotion of the heart is not necessarily a major part of it. Though we've mentioned it in the past, we've talked about it. It wasn't so clear cut. Here we're going to have the pasuk li bavtini achoti kala. That's going to be his things, and we're going to see how, as we learned it, he's going to move here into a much closer relationship. He's going to call her a kala, which is a bride, and then an achot, which he's going to bring in here. Okay, and the Malbim is going to talk about how, after the mind comprehends whatever it can comprehend, it shifts down towards the trunk of the body. Where the trunk of the body is the place where I would call us more the more emotive part of man. That's where it's the heart. As anyone knows, I guess you guys from medicine in different kinds, the liver, the stomach. These are all connected to the emotions, as opposed to the mind, which has to deal with thought. So this area is emotion, and the kli that maf'il et zeh is speech. Okay, speech has a power on our emotions. Rabbi Nachman talks about this all the time. Okay, Rabbi Nachman all over talks about speech and speech and speech and speech and speech. That's why the major Breslover thing is not hitbodedut, but it's not hitbonenut, it's hitbodedut. Hitbonenut, which is the Chabadi way, is a mind thing, right? You think, and then your heart ignites from the thought process. Well, Rabbi Nachman talks about speech and the ignition of emotion through speech, and in a sense, the throat is where speech originates, or it's right, where it starts in the stomach, right? Really should start deep inside, right? When you talk, when you sing, it's supposed to come from the stomach. What? The diaphragm down here. In other words, it doesn't start in the throat. So the throat is a connection of the mind and the emotion, and speech is one of the conduits where this goes by. So after saying all that, let's go on, and we'll see how the chapter sort of plays this out. Okay. כן, כמגדל דוד צווארך, בנוי לתלפיות, אלף המגן תלוי עליו, כל שלטי הגיבורים. So we said that the neck is likened to the parochet. Okay, it's likened to the parochet, in that it is the separation between the Kodesh HaKodashim, which is the mind, and the Kodesh, which is the heart. In Kodesh HaKodashim, there is nothing done there, no avodah. On Kohen Gadol comes and he puts a Ktoret there. There's no serious avodah done during the year. It's supposed to remain pure and sort of disconnected from everything else, right? When you go to the Kodesh, it's this week's parashot, right? You go into the Kodesh, there's stuff going on. There's shemen, there's bread, there's incense, there's all stuff going around in the Kodesh. Okay, it's much more messy in the Kodesh than it is in the Kodesh Kodeshim. And he really appreciates that. He also says the mind is the essence, the highest point of man's connection to Hashem. But then we're supposed to bring it down. And this is what's happening. We're bringing it down, and this is what Beit HaMikdash allows, as opposed to what you could do without Beit HaMikdash. In other words, and here's an important part. In other words, without Beit HaMikdash, you can contemplate God and reach prophecy on the high level he talked about before. You can do that. But to have Hashem dwell in the messiness of our life, that you need a mikdash for. You just need a mikdash for. That's what we were talking about last time. So this is the shift here. So it goes down through the throat, and then look at the next pasuk. Shnei shadaich k'shtei ofarim teomei tzviya haroim b'shoshanim. So here he's talking about the breasts of the beloved in a sense, okay? And the Malbim explains that in our breast holds two major kochot. One is ta'ava and one is kas. These are the two yitzarim that are in the I would say the ish part of our animalistic part. It's not really the animalistic part. It's our murkier parts. Let's put it that way, our murkier parts. There we have hatred or anger and lust. Those are two things that dwell in our lower parts, our lower elements. Okay, so this is what he says. These are the two breasts in that sense: are ta'ava and kas. Okay, lust and anger. Okay, but when they are connected via the neck to the mind, then you can elevate these things, or you can use these things, or you can purify these emotions for pure things. And that would be, so what would kas? What would you be able to do with kas? You'd be angry at evil, the mashal. Angry at evil. And lust, you could lust for mitzvot. And you could lust for your wife when it's mutar in that case. These are places that in other words, when you're led by your mind, when you're purified with your mind, the body isn't inherently evil or inherently wrong or inherently dirty or inherently anything you guys can call it. or as Christianity pushed it out, right? And I wanted to, would be wonderful if we could chop our heads off and just leave them as the head. It's the only thing connected to Hashem because everything else is dirty. Mamash not. There's an ability to through the experience of Hashem, to lower that into our life. Okay? And then he says like this, the next pasuk. Ad sheyafuach hayom v'nasu atzlalim elech li el har hamor vel givat alvana kulach yafa rayati umum en bach. These two pasukim are important, and they're especially going to be important when we play them off the last time we saw this pasuk. Ad sheyafuach hayom v'nasu atzlalim, that appeared 2 prakim ago. Okay? We're going to take there. So if you remember, in Perek Bet, Pasuk Yud Zayin, that was the ending of the prophetic experience. Okay? Look at Perek Bet, Pasuk Yud Zayin. You guys see it? Ad sheyafuach hayom v'nasu atzlalim sov dmei lecha dodi letzvi olofer hayanim al hari bater. And the Malbim explained there that was like the ending of the prophetic experience. Until you're managing, until the day will be over and you'll manage to conquer the bodily functions, and goodbye. You have to disappear and come back another time. That's how he explained Perek Bet. But here, he's explaining it differently. Okay? It's the same exact words. Until the day is blows away. I don't know. How does he explain Yafuach Hayom v'Nasa Tzladim? How does he translate it? There could look either what in Abayas.
Shadows flee away.
Until the shadow. What's the Yafuach Hayom?
The day breathes and the shadows flee.
The day what?
Breathes.
Before the day pulls and the shadows.
Pulls. Pulls. Pull.
Cools. Pulls.
Coals. Culls. That's a good word. Till the day cools, and you had till the day
breathes.
Okay, it's good they translate things, otherwise we won't understand them, right? Ad sheyafuach hayom. So yafuach comes from the napeach, go, to blow. So it's sort of, it may make sense in that sense. Ad sheyafuach hayom v'nasu atzladim. Okay, so what was the there? It was we're going to run away. Ad sheyafuach hayom v'nasu sov dmei dodi letzvi, disappear over the mountains. But in this case, it's not. Here it's, what are we going to do? I will go to the Har Hamor and Givat Alvana. I will go to the places where he explains, the Malbim explains, that more, he talks about this many times, more is the essence derived from the animal life, okay, the animal forces that he likened to the korbanot. Okay, and Givat Levona is the sources that come from the tzimchia, the tzomeach, the plant vegetation, the plant life. All right. If you guys remember the previous chapter, he talked all the time about how the korbanot elevate all these areas in reality, and they correlate also to man. So as opposed to running away, that happened in Perek Bet, here he's not running away. Until the day ends, I don't have to run away, says the Malbim. In this case, now, after we have Beit HaMikdash, the big shift between Perek Bet and Perek Dal is that there's the Beit HaMikdash. We don't run away anymore. Now, even when the day breathes, when the day coals, when the day seems to be, there's some kind of, descent of the day, all right? And the shadows are shifting, as opposed to disappearing and saying, okay, we can't handle it anymore. No, now we can handle it. When we have Beit HaMikdash, we can handle these lulls, we can handle this dealing with the lower features of man, because we're not afraid of them anymore. Now they can be elevated, they can be worked ahead. They can be brought to Avodat Hashem. And then he ends this part of the song, Kulach Yafa Rayati Umum Embach. That's a serious statement for our purposes. You are all fully beautiful, my beloved, and there is no blemish in you. Okay? Everything is holy. Everything is kadosh. Everything is part of this spiritual experience of Kvod Hashem. This is the ultimate. This is the prophetic experience par excellence. Okay? Not surprisingly, the next pasuk, he calls her a kala. Iti milivanon kala. You will come with me. Now you can be my kala. Says Hashem, up until now, you're my beloved. We have some kind of game here we're playing with. You're getting close, I'm getting close. There's a lot of connections, but. Now you can be my kala. Okay? You can come from Lebanon, which we said is always the name for Beit HaMikdash. Right? Beit HaLevanon, Beit HaMikdash is called Beit HaLevanon. Iti mi Lebanon kala, iti mi Lebanon tavoi. You're going to come with me now from Beit HaMikdash. Now we're married, per se. Now there's a real, as the Zohar says, idabka rucha berucha. Now there is like a I'm going to say a word that sounds like Christian to me. There's a connection between Hashem and the seeker of Hashem in a complete and total way. And this is, so these psukim are really the epitome of these psukim right now, where we are right now. This is the pisgah of Shir HaShirim. Okay? This is the mamash, the highest point of Shir HaShirim, because next chapter we're going to collapse. Okay? We're going to crash, mamash, next chapter. And according to the Malbim, it's the real crash that correlates to Shlomo's chet with the women, and it's not going to be rectified until death. Okay, it's really not going to be rectified until death. So right now we're at our high. We should enjoy ourselves. We're in the best place of the Shir HaShirim. Okay, so itimi levanon kala, itimi levanon tavoi, tashuri mirosh amana, mirosh snir v'chermon, nimonot arayot mihararei nemerim. So here he has a mailach here of what exactly is the height of Ammana and the height of Snir and Chermon. Snir and Chermon we know are mountains. So Ammana, just reading the pshat of the pasuk, apparently it was another mountain. Mirosh Ammana, Mirosh Snir v'Chermon. Apparently there was a mountain called Mount Ammana. I'm not sure which one it was or where it was. Snir v'Chermon, we know where they are. Chermon is the Chermon, and the Snir is right there. It's another name for the Chermon. To this day, you could go up north. Anyone ever been to the Chermon? You've been to the Chermon? So there's a place called Nachal Snir that comes right off from the Chermon. In other words, it's an area we know about. So, what? You could go skiing if you want. There is skiing. There is skiing.
Yeah. Not this year, maybe. Not.
I think it snowed up there.
Well, I mean, because of other reasons.
Oh, because of other reasons. Well, you could maybe jump on a missile as you go. You skied before?
Once, but it was too sloppy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's like a major league slope up there on the Chermon. I don't know. Are you a skier too?
Oh yeah, I was a big snowboarder.
You're a skier? Philippines? No
Philippines.
No skiing in the Philippines? No skiing in South Carolina, California?
It's like an hour away from Skico, 2 hours away.
Yeah. Come on. He was a surfer. He surfed.
Busy ripstick.
What's ripsticking? What's ripsticking?
It's like a scooter without handlebars, basically.
Scooter without handlebars.
Yes.
Sounds fun. We said there.
I have a question. If I have to explain to a very secular individual why Shlomo Melech used this analogy in such a sensual way, because if you read it in the plain meaning, it speaks very sensual and speaks more like a very
Like a stam love song.
yes, like a
So we talked about it mamash in the beginning, and we had the intro. We spoke about it in all different elements of it. That there's no pshat and there's no this. If you remember, Rav Kook's explanation of this is that love is a what we call it is a continuum. That's how he said it. And the love is a continuum. The love you have towards a woman is part of the greater love that you have for Hashem also. In other words, to talk about one without the other is almost impossible in a sense. In other words, there is something that is it's all part of the same sort of line of love. That's it. And so there is something. Sensual love, when it's done b'kedusha, it's the highest level of kedusha. So it just, if you like follow it up towards Hashem, it's a proper. There are proper metaphors in this place. How else will I say love? If you guys even remember, even the Rambam, when the Rambam talked about the proper love we're supposed to have for Hashem, what does he say? You guys remember what he says? It's the same love that you have for someone who's crazy in love. That's what he says. You're crazy in love of Oto Isha. That's what he writes in the end of Hilchot Tshuva. He says, right, Sheshogeh tamid. You're thinking about her all the time. That's the mashal. And then he says, and all of Shir HaShirim is a mashal, a davar hazeh. Which is what the Malbim says. But why is that the mashal for that? Because nothing in your experience would be like it. In other words, we try to say, in a sense, that this prophetic experience is some kind of, some kind of other experience. He would, the way we would read it through the Rav Kook's eyes, in that sense, and I'm not sure the Rambam would love me to say what I'm saying now, through Rav Kook's eyes, would be that if you don't understand the real connection you have with your wife, Be'ezrat Hashem, then you won't understand the connection with Hashem. That's the Zohar talks about this all the time. Rabbi Nachem, the Rabbi Nachem Fruman, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the Rav of our Yeshuv, he would get very angry at anyone who's not married. He would always be like, "You're half a man. You're not a person. Until you get married, you're not there. What? You're incomplete. But you can't understand these things. How can you understand Kabbalah? How can you understand the Zohar? How can you understand the depth of Torah without inherently being part of this?" So you have to remember, in Judaism, sexuality is kadosh. When done properly, that is kedusha. Okay, that is almost the definition of kedusha. Ad kedei kach that we know what the Chazal say about, right? When the Kruvim, when Am Yisrael was doing what they should be doing, the Kruvim were mamash together. Okay, it's a statement that you're like, it doesn't work. But the Chazal had no problem saying it, and the concept is one that it's not seen as something wrong or impure. We have to remember it's a fuch almost. So that it's really one of the places where Judaism differs greatly from many other religions, because it's not avodah. There are a lot of things where that's part of the avodah zarah service. In many of the different types of avodah zarah, there was sexual acts that were part of the service of God. We don't see it that way. That's not the service of God. Chas v'shalom, that you do these things in Beit HaMikdash. That's bichlal lo relevanti. But it's in your own personal life. That is part of the service of it. It's a mitzvah. Mamash a mitzvah.
So in the way that they perceive this, like in the Jewish mind, that is something like so sensual and sexual, because they feel it themselves, because they themselves are in that tumah, in that dirt.
Of course.
That's why the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So in this case,
someone whose mind is in impure thoughts or impure sex. When you read this is what you see. Of course. When you experience kedusha on the high level, you could understand what they're talking about. It's very hard. You're right. It's confusing, and Chazal had difficulty with Shir HaShirim. It wasn't so pashut, we said, when they had to canonize the Tanakh. Shir HaShirim wasn't. There was a machloket. What do we do with it? Not yes, go in, not go in.
My Malbim set doesn't have Shir HaShirim, it goes Iyov to Daniel.
Really?
I was looking through. I was going to bring down because it skips over.
Maybe you're missing a piece, or maybe you're missing
I'm probably missing a piece, but it's not where it's supposed to.
It's in the Chamesh Megillot. It's in the Chamesh Megillot.
It's not
That's where it is. Yeah. The Malbim has in the Chamesh Megillot. Okay. Yeah, it's probably that's where it's hiding.
Okay.
Beseder. Tov. Let's continue with the Malbim here, okay? Beseder. So the likening here, as we said, Snir and Hermon, he explains something here that I didn't get at the sof, what the meaning of these two mountains are. But he goes on and says, "Mimionot arayot mihararei nemirim." He likens them to the dens of lions and the mountains of leopards. So these two animals we know from the Mishnah, right? Heve az kenamer, vekal kenesher, vegibor ke'ari. So the Malbim says these ideas of Aryeh and an Amer, there are two elements in Avodat Hashem that need to be done when we're talking about what we're talking about, which is to be pure throughout. The Aryeh symbolizes Gvura, strength. Okay, but Gvura and strength in this case is the ability to take all your powers and hold them. Okay, Gvura is usually in Kabbalistic language, it's a contraction. Okay, it's the ability to hold the powers as they are in their proper space and in their proper place. Okay, as opposed to Chesed, which has an endless quality of boundlessness, kindness, unlimited. Gvura's motion is to hold things in place. Okay, and the arayot in this case, the idea of in our Avodat Hashem, we have our kochot in our nefesh, what we talked about in our chest, in our stomach, in our emotions. We have to hold it. We hold it, but we also have to have azut. Azut is, how would you translate azut? Az is like a. It's like chutzpah but good. That's what with an ayin. Yeah, with a right. Azut. One of the al-chetz we say is azut metzach, to be when we were brazen. Apropos brazen, when we're brazen. That would be, that's a bad part of azut. Okay, that's but they say, it says in the Gemara, Yisraelim azim shebaumot. Am Yisrael are the most azim damot. Is that good or bad to be az? It tells us, have az kanamer, be az kanamer. What do you mean? But we don't want to be az is good or bad. What? Exactly. So that's as our case here is also. So the azut here, he says, is the hitlavut. The hitlavut, the hitlavus. The hitlavut, anyone? Hitlavut is the I was going to say ignition, but ignition is not the right word. When you are ignited for Avodat Hashem, itlavut, when you're, guys, you mitlev from something. Sometimes you bring something, excitement, sort of excitement. Yeah, excitement. Maybe. So between ecstatic and excitement, okay, that's what azut is. In other words, there's something here that also needs to be, and here's the shift as we're moving right now. The azut is a motion of passion. Okay, it's a motion of passion. Is oz katzul netzach, and maybe kashul to netzach. Okay, but there's a motion of passion here. Okay, and these are the things that are needed here to cause the complete connection with Hashem, and it moves us right into the next pasuk. Okay, and that's what's important for this pasuk of talking about azut. Here goes into the next pasuk, which is libavtini achoti chala, libavtini be'echad me'enaich be'echad anak mitzavonaich. And here I felt like the Malbim in these next two psukim, this one and the next one after, here he makes a shift that is really important. In other words, here, this is, for me is the ikar of this chapter. And he's as I said before, he's moving from the contemplation of Hashem to the excitement in the avodat Hashem. Okay, and that, according to the Malbim, is a higher level. It's fascinating than just prophecy in the mind. And this is when man sort of joins the picture. If up until now we've been experiencing our godliness, or the godliness that Hashem presents us through prophecy, or the whatever Ruach HaKodesh level we're talking about, there is suddenly a shift here to man, to the prophet himself, exploding with love towards Hashem. Li bav tini. It says there are two leves there. Li bav tini. Lo li bav tini. Lev. There are two. That's how he reads it. Levav tini. It's not one lev. It's levav, right? What Rashi said. Bechol levavcha, v'shnei yitzarecha. Right? Rashi says the two. It's like levavav is double lev. It's not bechol libcha, which is what we would say nowadays. Libcha, in your heart, levavecha. So he's playing off that with libav tini. There are two lives going on here. There's my live, and there's his live. And this connection happens through the ignition of my heart to love. And suddenly he brings in love here. Malbim starts talking about love as a major important part of this perfection that we were talking about before. And that's why he calls him Libavtini achoti kala. He called her a kala a second ago because she was perfect. And the perfect for me, the chatan, again, Hashem's presence, to come and dwell among them. But now, it's a higher level, an achot, than a kala. Because an achot is a partner, in a sense. She's like, we're like equal. Which is Hasmi Laskir, who could say something like this, but that's what he's saying. He says, the Malbim says, at this point, when we come towards Hashem also, this is even higher than the prophetic experience. That is just through the mind. Now it's part of the prophetic experience. Let's not make a mistake here. This all could happen when the gates were opened by the prophetic experience. But this is another shlav in the prophetic experience, and it is now when we. The love for Hashem starts pouring forth, and again, this comes from the lower area of man. This comes from here, this area, not this area, and it's a movement, and the Malbim says is necessary, and it comes here towards the end of the prophetic explanation of what happens, because it's really the end of it. This is what's supposed to happen, and then he says like this. Libavtini achoti, libavtini be'echad me'enaich, be'echad anak mitzavronaich. He says, my love has started to come from one of your eyes. The eyes are, where are eyes? Eyes are up here on our face, in the higher level, in the place. The eyes consider seeing, the ro'eh, that consider the prophecy. Okay? There is he calls it a prophecy of contemplation to a prophecy or an acknowledgement of Hashem that comes mamash through the soul itself. It's not through the mind. It's through a level of emotional soul, I would call it. Okay? There's an experience of Hashem and emotional soul. Now this is, we were talking about on Shabbat, about the Rabbi Piasetzna, who really deals with these questions. Now, the Rabbi Piasetzna, more so than anyone that I've ever met in probably the Mekubalim talk about it, but they talk about it in language I don't understand. But the Rabbi Piasetzna explained it to simple people like us. How he says that the prophetic experience was one of vision and emotion. Mamash is what he talks about, and they go hand in hand, almost impossible to separate them. He says, in other words, you mamash think and contemplate of Hashem, but the only way it works is when you are on fire in your emotions. That's what he says. When you're on fire, in other words, you are there. In other words, and he says, and they play off each other. In other words, when you are super enthusiastic, your mind will be clearer. And when your mind is clearer, your emotions will be on fire. It plays on, and so in his avodah, you have to work on both of them. You have to work on your mind, and you have to work on your emotions. And they play off each other. And this is sort of what's happening here in Shir HaShirim. In other words, the mind has been where he's been most of the time, the Malbim, in explaining Shir HaShirim. And now he's igniting the heart. Okay? And he says, in the end of that prophetic experience is the highest level of the prophetic experience. And here you are, then you're achoti. Then it's like we're coming together as equal almost. You're still achoti kala. Okay, it's still there, the kala, this aspect of man and wife. But there's a connection between man and wife where they're coming mamash as equals. And the love there isn't a dominating kind of love, either side. It's a fairness in connection. It is equality in connection. Okay? And he calls it a sechel ma'asi. In other words, the eyes, which have to do with the mind, because they're up here in the mind. So it says, you've ignited my love through one of your eyes, right? Look at the thing. Again, libavtini achoti chala, libavtini be'achat me'enayich, in one of your eyes. What do you mean one of your eyes? What is the other eye? What happened to the other eye? So he says, be'achat me'enayich, in a prophetic level, but a lower prophetic level, a prophetic level that is more focused on action, as opposed to understanding. Okay, it has to do with maisim, or maybe dibur and masim, a lower level than machshava. Now we're talking about mamash, lower, bringing it into the body, and this is where we become achoti kala. Okay, I'll read what I summarize the Malbim here. It says the Shem Achot, the name Achot, which is born out of love of the heart towards Hashem. This is a love. Now, we always know, and I think people who've learned Tanya, he talks about it all the time. He talks about mil'ela letata u'mitata le'ela. Things that come up from up down and from down up. Right? Like now we're right before Purim, right? So Purim and Pesach are the opposites of these things. Pesach is the ultimate mil'ela letata, right? Hashem does everything. Hashem took care of everything. We were in Bemtet Sharei Tuma. We weren't even anywhere. Hashem came and He pretty much did everything. Right? Hashem yilachem lachem v'atem tacharishun. Hashem will fight for you and you be quiet. That's like the ultimate pasuk of Pesach. While Purim, there's no Hashem bichlal. There's no Hashem in the Megillah. Hashem doesn't appear bichlal in Purim. He's completely different. Dafka Sham, Chazal say, Adur Kiblu B'Yamei Achashverosh. That's where we accepted the Torah on ourselves. And why did it happen there? Because there it was through our own choice, without Hashem making great miracles. We had to appreciate Hashem in reality. We had to appreciate Hashem not in His revealed glory, but in His actions, hidden actions in the world. And that comes from us, because it's not Him. It comes from us, our appreciation, our understanding, our love, our searching and seeking for Him. That's where we find it. So these motions are very classic models of how things work. Up until now, we kept on talking about the prophetic experience as a mile'ela letata kind of experience, the one that Hashem will bring you the prophecy. Not only that, we said in the first chapters that it has to be that way, because how in the world can we in our limited faculties understand Hashem? He has to break things open for us, otherwise we're limited in our abilities. But here the Malbim is talking about after we have the Mikdash, there's an ability to break down those walls. Those walls can be broken down even when they come from us. Okay? And this is what he says. Okay? This is, and then he goes like this, sorry. Matovu dodaich miyain vereach shmanaich mikol besamim. Your love is greater than wine, and wine was always the prophetic experience, the high-level prophetic experience. We've seen this before. Vereach shmanaich mikol besamim. So your love that comes just from your heart, from the emotive part of your heart, is greater than the prophetic experience. This is the pinnacle of that we're searching for. Okay. I wrote here that I should read the end of this pasuk as it's written, as he writes it here. So I will, since I said I should read it. So I'll read it to you. Yomar shedodea ritzono lomar midat ha'ava. When it said dodea, right? Tovim dodecha miyayin. It says that the love gdola mimadregat hasagat hanevuah is greater than the level of prophecy. It's amazing, right? Kihi mitatzem benefesh atzmo. This gets greater and greater in the soul itself, ad shedvukat tamid ba'avato, until it is cleaves to him in its love. V'reach shmanaich, and the smell of the oils. This is the continuation of our pasuk. Shu areach v'asaga shetasiga al yedei itlavuta v'avota. The smell, this specific smell, that is what you get from the hitlavut, always an enthusiasm, the excitement of the avodah, of our avodah. Tovim mikol besamim, be better than all the iuni things you could understand, the things you could understand in your mind. You know? This is the dveikut be'ahavato. That's what he says. This is the top of the top. There's one more part here. The next 3, 4 psukim, 5 psukim that we didn't do yet. So we'll take a look at them in a second. But now it sort of goes to the side. It doesn't continue going up. This is the pinnacle. Okay, this is the pinnacle of the thing. And for our purposes, for my purposes, I'm talking to myself, the Malbim was not considered a chassid. Okay, we should know. He was like, German mind people. That's usually how we see them. But it's very, very, I think it's very confusing. Once the Hasidisha movement moved into the world, and we sort of, there was a certain stance what love means. Love means dancing, or jumping up and down, or some kind of, I would say sort of like showy kind of love. But it's not true. Yeah, I mean, it's not true. It's not only true. It could be. It's not. I don't think it doesn't. It must mean that's not. But the Rambam, who talks about the love of Hashem, and that you're crazy for love. That's what he says. You're crazy about love. The only thing you could think about is Hashem, 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 Hashem. I love Hashem. I love Hashem. I love Hashem. These are things that can be done without showing outwardly that I'm turning somersaults or something. Okay, there's a love that can be, and I want to bring it out here. Once again, there's more we can do here in Machon Meir for that, in my opinion. There's more we can be, this could be worked on specifically. We talked about having schools of prophets, right? There are schools of prophets. That's what it was like. The schools in the Nevi'im's time were these kinds of schools. This is what they would do. That's why they would say they were crazy. They would sing. There was a lot of music going on with them, right? They were always chevel nevi'im, and they're playing with the kinor and the nevel. What? The mashal. There is something to that. There is something to it. Also, the Shirat Leviim. We have to remember that Beit HaMikdash was a total IMAX experience, right? There was everything. It was visual, and there was sound, and it was everything. The Beit HaMikdash was not a cold place. You came and you brought a korban, and that was it. There was smell and touch and taste and sound. It was everything. You would be all muf'al, and part of this haf'alah is to get the emotive state going. It's something that's very missing in our avodat Hashem offer. You're a musician, right? Yeah, you can come. But Beit HaMikdash, it was mamash the full experience. In other words, I once heard a wonderful sikha talk about someone who was explaining what there is in India. Eo's not here. He's explaining what Israelis find in India. And that was one of the things he was talking about. How it is a full five sense experience. It hits you everywhere. It hits you in the taste and the smell and the sounds and the feel. Everything is very, very here. Now, that's what Avodah Zarah is. Avodah Zarah often played off on these things. But it wasn't stam. Avodah Zarah isn't stam. It's not inherently whatever. It's wrong because it's going the wrong way. But the fact that Beit HaMikdash, in a sense, stimulated these same places in us, this is what he's talking about in Avodat Hashem. In other words, Avodat Hashem has to have the avan yirah, has to have the emotive parts of us really awake, really, really awake and aware and moving and shifting. Tov. בסדר. I feel like the... Trying to think. I feel like the next parts are not quite as... maybe we'll go on. He goes on to the next part. Is talking about Gan Na'ul Achoti Kala. My sister bride is a sealed gan, is a gal Na'ul, Ma'ayan Khatum, all different rights of locked, put away. The way the Malbim explains, he says there is a part of our soul that is always perfect. Okay, mamash Chasidish Torah here. There's a part of our soul that's always perfect. In other words, even though Yehi Asher Yehi, Lo Mishaneh, what we go through, what we have been through, what we experience, how dirty we feel, how low we feel, there is part of our soul that is always unblemished, that has the possibility to reach this, okay, to reach this prophecy. Okay, this is a statement. Now he's going to say Shlomo is going to mess up this part, and then he's not going to get it. But even if it's only before death, as we'll see later in the Shir HaShirim, even if it's only before death you could experience, it still exists. There is part of us, what I guess the Balatanya would call Chelek Eloha Mimal Mamash, a part of Hashem in us that is really a part of Hashem. This is something that is always locked away. That's what he says. Gan Na'ul, Gal Na'ul, Ma'ayan Khatum. He explains each one of them in a different way. But in a sense, this is where he's going. There's a part of us that's always there. It's always possible to access it at some point. It may be very hidden away. It may be very hard to experience. It may be very hard to find. Say there. So it may be where he's talking about, but his explanation of the Yechida was different. His Yechida, he talked about it as something that's earned, Dafka. As both the Chaya and the Yechida, he says these are earned more before he talked about it. This, I would say, is the Neshama. That would be that level. The Neshama has a purity to it that is, it's there. It's always there. Okay? And it can always be Achoti Kala. It can be. These are things that need to be worked on and revealed. Okay? I jumped a pasuk. I jumped two psukim even. Again, he talks about here he's talking about the different parts. Shlachayich pardes rimonim. I'll explain. I'll read. Let's just read them. Shlachayich pardes rimonim im pri megadim kfarim im nirdim ner v'chakom kanev v'kinaon im kol aseh levona mo va'alot im kol rashi besamim. He's talking about lots and lots of different parts of the Torah, and the different elements in reality. There's a gan and a pardes. A pardes rimonim is a orchard of pomegranates, and obviously its Kabbalistic overtones. Is their famous book called the Pardes Rimonim by Moshe Cordovero, the Ramak, the great Mikubal before the Arizal. So there's obviously this pasuk has a lot of connotations. The Malbim says this is just saying how all the parts of creation, in a sense, can be serving Hashem in man also, and maybe the last part. Mayan ganim be'er mayim chayim v'nozlim min levanon. So what he says here is like this. There's a ma'ayan. He calls our heart a ma'ayan, a spring. A spring. What's the difference between a spring and a well per se? A spring is one that it itself brings out water. A well is, or a bor mayim in Israel, is a place that gathers water from the rain, but it doesn't have its own source. He says here, the statement here that says ma'ayan ganim be'er mayim chayim v'nozlim min levanon, our soul is an internal battery. That it itself, okay, הנשמה בעצמה קדושה ונותנת עוז ותעצומות לאדם מבפנים. There is a possibility, we talked about this in the past before, that prophecy comes from above and from inside. Now he's talking about the inside part. There is something that inside us that we talked about before, about having this ma'ayan chatum, this idea that there's something in us that is pure. It can be accessed, and it can be an internal inspiration of connection to Hashem also. Okay? And he calls it's a part of God, very much like we said before. Okay? It has as much effect on man as external prophecy that Hashem gives. And again, this is what we talked about, the letata le'ela. This is the bottom coming up as opposed to the top coming down. These are all things that can be accessed. I would say even more so when Hashem, when it says in the Gemara that prophecy is stopped, there's no more prophecy, I believe they're talking about that kind of prophecy. The prophecy that comes down. The prophecy that comes from inside, many Gdolei Israel talk about prophetic experiences. That's, I think, what they're referencing to. They're referencing the prophetic experience of the revelation of the godliness of their soul that affected them in their thoughts and in their experience. It's a different movement than most of what the Malbim was talking about. Malbim mostly was talking about, and I was striving for the experience through Hashem. What he does in this chapter is he says there's a unification that happens from both sides. That's what we're really looking for. That's the epitome of a thing. Here, the last pasuk, he's calling for the winds to come and awaken these spirits. He says there's a boy Teiman, Uri Tzafonu boy Teiman, come from the north, come from the south. He says is Yamin v'Smol. These are the two motions from above and from below to ignite our soul. And that's the ending of here. The last pasuk really is the first pasuk of Perek Hey. So let's take a look here. Bati legani, achoti chala. So Hashem comes to the Gan. After the love spills over from the Kala, then he comes to the Kala. Ariti morim besarmi, achalti yarim, divshi shatiti einim chalavi, ichlu re'im, shtu v'shichru dodim. This is the absolute unification. The Dod comes to the garden, he comes to the Ma'ayan Khatum, he comes to the hidden place that man has, and they come and they're together. And it's such a beautiful ending here that the next chapter is such a letdown that you go, oh my gosh, what is going on? So let's use the time we have here just to take a look at the next chapter, okay? We're done with this chapter. By the way, we're done first of all, right, we just finished the middle. This is the middle of Shir HaShirim. So we've reached the middle point of Shir HaShirim, and it's on a high, a real high. According to the Malbim, this is the ultimate. If we thought chapter 1 was the ultimate, this is the ultimate. Okay? The next 2-3 chapters are going to be dealing with the fall. Okay? Or at least this chapter deals with the fall. And we'll see, even in the Pshat, we can see suddenly something very strange happening. Ready? Ani yeshena v'libi er. They're great metaphors, no matter whatever they mean. I was sleeping and my heart was awake. Kol dodi dofek. Suddenly I hear the voice of my beloved knocking. Pitchili achoti rayati yonati tamati. Whoa, the whole foursome, right? Open, my sister, my beloved, my dove, my perfect one. Sheroshi nimla tal kivutzotai resisei laila. My hair is full of dew. I'm wet. I'm waiting outside in the rain, in the night. But I'm right outside your door. Open up for me. Open up, my beloved. Beautiful. It's a beautiful imagery. And then suddenly we have the psukim that are just mind-boggling. Pashateti et kutonti, echacha el bashena, rachatzti et raglai, echacha tenfen. Says, I've already taken off my clothes, my dress. How will I put it on now? I've washed my feet already. What, I'll get them dirty now? Says the Kala in bed, when her beloved's right outside the door, bang, knocking on the door. Dodi shalach yado minachor. I saw my beloved's hand sort of in the doorway, in the hall. Ume'ai hamu alav, and suddenly My innards wanted him. Kamti ani liftoach ledodi. Now I find myself, I got up to open the door for my beloved, and ve'adayin atfu mor be'etzvotai mor over kapat manu. My hands are dripping with besamim, with spices and oils. Patachti ani ledodi. I opened the door for my beloved. Vedodi chamak avar. My beloved has disappeared. Nafshi yatsa bedabro. My soul exited as he spoke. Bikashtiu velo metzatiu. I went searching for him, but I couldn't find him. Karativ velo anani. I called for him, but he didn't answer. Now, what does this remind us of? This reminds us of a previous chapter, right? Which chapter was that? In chapter 2, nachon? Sorry, not in chapter 3. Al mishkavi baleilot bikashti et shava nafshi. Bikashti velo matzativ. Also, that's how chapter 3 started. As I was on my bed, I searched for my beloved. I looked, but I couldn't find. He goes out. He meets the shomrim, right? She asked them, did you see them, right? And then he finds them. And that started the whole fun of the chapter 3 and 4, which was the great thing. That's not what happens here. Look what happens here. Up until now, it's very domain in a sense. The beginning was a little more dramatic, but now she goes out looking. So, mitzauni hashomrim hasovevim ba'ir. Okay, the shomrim found me now. Last time, they helped me, or they at least didn't stop me. What happens now? Hikuni ptsauni. They beat me. They damaged me. They hurt me. Nasu et redidi me'alai yoshomrei chomot. The guards of the walls took off my garments. Whoa. Okay, this is not what happened last time. Last time, very quickly she finds him. This time, she was lazy in her getting up, and he disappears, and he doesn't come back. And she's searching for him, she can't find him. השבעתי אתכם בנות ירושלים, אם תמצאו את דודי מה תגידו לו שחולת אהבה אני. I swore to you, I made you swear. If you find my beloved, what you tell him that I love him. And then they ask her, מה דודך מידוד היפה בנשים? מה דודך מידוד שככה השבעתנו? What's so special about your beloved? Why are you making us swear this way? And then there goes into a whole explanation of how much her dod is so special, how her dod is so unique, and these are the longest definitions of the dod. Until now, most of the descriptions were of the dod of the raya, but now suddenly the raya starts describing the dod. Okay, or in our presence, that we start describing Hashem or the Torah or whatever it is, the other side, the side that's not us, and we start saying about it. And why do you talk about it so much here? Because it's missing. That's why, right? In other words, when it's missing, that's when you need the descriptions. When it's right there, it's like, oh, him. But if you're not there, oh, well, he's like this and he's like this and he's like this. So he starts saying, oh, what's my dod? My dod is this and this and this and this and this and this. Okay? And that's it. It ends there. And look at that pasuk Perek Vav. It begins in Perek Vav. Ana alach dodecha yafa banashim. Where did he go? Your beloved. Ana pana dodech v'nevakshenu imach. Dodi arad legano larugot habosem. Lirot baganim v'lilkot sheshanim. My beloved has gone away to his garden. Ani ledodi v'dodi li haro'eh b'shoshanim. But I am for my beloved, and he is for me. He who haro'eh b'shoshanim. He who leads his flock among the lilies. But does he meet her? Does he meet her? Does she meet him? There's no meeting here. The Malbim is going to read this as a tragedy. In other words, he's going to read the beginning as Shlomo HaMelech sins, and the losing her and not coming, even though Hashem attempts to reestablish the connection. Shlomo is so deep in his sins that he can't get out of it. And even when he wakes up and he tries to do tshuva, the shomrim grab him, right? We talk about the shomrim are always the bodily functions. They grab him and they don't let him go. And then he's yelling out, I want to go back to my beloved. I want to go back to my beloved. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's the tragedy of Perek. And Be'etzem, he's going to read the continuation of chapter Vav and Zayin as you will meet me again, but that will be when you won't have a body anymore. So that will be the last time when you have the prophetic experience is when you die. With that happy note, on that happy note, we'll stop now. And we will again, and next week we'll start with Rashi. There's a lot of Rashi on this chapter. Okay, on chapter Hey Dafka, almost as much as the Malbim. We'll start with Rashi Dafka. And the Malbim will be easier, as I just explained what we're going to see in the Malbim. And Bezrat Hashem, we do have a matara to try to finish Shir HaShirim before Pesach. That gives us like another 6 meetings or so, or 5 meetings. Yeah, he's smiling at me. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna make it either, but we'll get as far as we can go.
Only 5 meetings?
Yeah, it's to get this 14 meetings to get this far. Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach.